Just like that. We're back. Good to see you guys. Welcome to week 3. Hope everyone is either excelling, thriving, or hanging in there. I've got a little bit, not of a sore throat, but just a little bit of a cough, because when you're around multiple thousands of people, many of whom are choosing to party in close proximity to each other, something's going to happen like that. To be clear, I'm not the one partying in close proximity to other people, because I decided to spend my Wednesday night talking to a bunch of middle and high schoolers about leadership. Not quite sure what's going on there, but you know what? I'll make that work. So good to see you guys. Welcome to week 3. You can see the title. I'm curious if we're going to be able to connect the song at all, just the short lyrics we heard, to what we're going to be talking about today. And so let's kind of get started by not getting started and starting instead with a different little news segment. So, very simple. You can see it. Hey, if you have good news, let's hear about it, right? So the deal with this is that, you've got a lot of stuff going on. You've got a lot of things you're worrying about. Everyone here has a lot of things they're worrying about. And for some people, knowing that other people have something good going on, hey, it's encouraging to them. Other times you're in a mood where it's like, my life sucks. Everything sucks. I don't want to talk about it. And so hearing someone talk about how excited they are about getting a new puppy is just like, no, I'm done with that. So you don't have to participate in this. You don't have to say anything. You can actually mute the call if you'd like. I understand it if you're kind of in one of those phases. But if you have anything good that's happened this last week, unrelated to Scioli, because you guys have lives outside of Science Olympiad, I'd love to hear about it. Just share with everyone. So I know for me, I had midterms this week, my first 2 midterms. Very scary, very daunting, but today's math midterm went very well. There was some good questions that I felt like were a little bit tricky, but then I got through them, and now it feels good. So that's what I'm celebrating today. That's why it's good to celebrate. So just unmute anything. We'll keep the segment short. I'm just gonna go right to the next thing. But if you have anything good to share, love to hear it. I'll give the 5-second countdown, and we'll move on. Alrighty. So, just taking a quick review of what we talked about last week. Talking about credibility, that was the big thing, right? We talked about organizational structure. Main focus, though, was on confidence, where you get confidence from, things like that. And so we had our big checklist. Has this person earned my respect? What influence do they have over my life? How much longer do I know this person? And of course, the big thinking world, helping the world, implications. That's always a good one to keep in mind. But you know what? It's not always easy, and so we'll try to keep working on that as we go about this. And so just that's something else to keep in mind today, actually, is because today, actually, after the last week's meeting, I realized that I was talking for the entire meeting and didn't get any participation whatsoever. And so we're going to change that, and we're going to get most of this being participation, which is really fun for me because I get to talk less and save my voice. But yeah, something to keep in mind as you're going about this. Have confidence. These are people hopefully you trust and respect. Maybe not. If so, we should probably stop and talk about that. But yeah, that's our checklist. Make sure to keep that in mind as we're working today. And reviewing the homework, I was able to get to most of the answers that got in before 4 or 5-ish today. Just the 2 main points I noticed. Actually, everyone did really well. I really liked everyone's answers. Main points is don't be afraid to use specific examples. I think the use of specific examples is so great because when someone asks you why you believe something, or what you want to do about something, or where do you get something from, being able to pull out a really specific, hey, I've thought so much about this. Here's an example of why I've thought about it. That's really great. And so if you have a time where a certain friend or a family member really earned your respect in that moment, like don't be afraid to share that story. That's really great for a number of reasons, including the fact that it just makes you look more in tune with your beliefs. And being that kind of idea that you thought about your beliefs and you're in tune with it is a great place to be. Also, the focus of on I. Don't be afraid to focus on yourself with these kinds of responses. Like if you learn something, you notice something, you felt something, that shows growth, that shows self-awareness, and those are great traits to have. And so don't be afraid to kind of pull those in as you go about trying to navigate these answers, not only for this little course, but also just any written responses, especially those applications and essays that will be coming down the pipeline. Also, for those of you who voted on the TikTok that I sent out part of the way through the week, 6 of you said that you'd be okay with me doing that to you. I don't buy that. Just so you know, I do not believe that one bit. And so I will be keeping track of that, and I will be noting that, and we will see what the implications are of that later this season. But that cracked me up. I saw a TikTok like months ago, and it's just like the epitome of like one person just, yeah. I love that one so much. So glad to be able to share that with you guys. And so, yeah, with that, let's transition into what we're going to be doing today. First main point, keeping concise. Public speaking. Yeah, it's a thing. One thing I've noticed is that there's a lot of like different ways of exploring public speaking. There's speech and debate. There's presentations where it's like you're doing presentations specifically on topics. There's things like Academic Decathlon that have improv speeches on the spot. There's so many ways of approaching it. And so the one that I'm going to try and approach it with today, at least, comes down to conciseness, being concise, keeping your ideas short. I think when you go out and you see people who are speaking, you can very quickly hone in on who rambles versus who is able to keep their thoughts short, moving, and to the point. And if you're able to do that, that's great. And so we're going to jump straight into some examples of why you need to know this skill. Like interacting with people, it's good to be concise. Don't be afraid to like tell stories and go on those tangents, but being able to really hone in on an idea is always good to be able to do. Same thing with the interviews, especially when you're trying to interview for a position or a place or something that's of prominence. You want to show that you have ideas, but not going on rabbit trails about something that's just completely unrelated. Class discussions, speeches to the Science Olympiad team, always good to be able to be ready for, because you never know when you'll be asked to speak. And so if those are some places where being concise can help. I mean, there's so many guides, there's so many videos and books and courses on how to be a good public speaker. If that's something you're interested in, consider pursuing that. But I've just got 3 tips that I've noticed when watching speakers speak to me that I've tried to work on. I don't always do a very good job of actually putting into practice, but at least I'm trying. The first is, if you don't know what to say, just don't say anything. This is very difficult because we are so used to the ums and uhs and likes and pauses of that sort, which have a place in our language and presentation. But when trying to sound refined or classy, the absence of those pauses, even if replaced with empty silence, allows you to emphasize points in a more effective manner. Now, me presenting that bullet point sounds very awkward because I was intentionally trying to not use any of those pauses that I kept wanting to use as I was speaking. It is not easy. You will see a lot of people do it, but replacing a verbal pause with silence can let you emphasize things in a distinct manner. In a distinct manner without the need to verbalize those pauses. And so that's the first point. If you don't know what to say, just don't say anything. Second point, a great tool, make an outline, stick to it. We'll talk about that. That's the one we're going to emphasize. But outlines are great ways of just kind of entertaining your thoughts and allowing you to keep your ideas in line as you're going through a presentation. And of course, slow down. I have seen in my life one presentation where the speaker was noticeably slow. And that's it. Every other presentation I've ever seen has always been either right on time or too fast, which means you can't go too slow. That is very difficult to do. And so don't be afraid to slow it down, give your audience more time to digest, give yourself more time to breathe and think, especially when you're making stuff up on the spot. Don't be afraid to slow down. And so let's move to that second bullet point, making an outline, sticking to it. This is a tool that I think you will find very helpful the more you use it, but it may not seem worth it at first, especially in things like interviews, which are very on the spot, impromptu, need to make it up and be ready to go. The thought of outlining an answer is very daunting. You almost rather prefer to start talking, find out what you're going to say along the way, and then get to some conclusion at the end, which works for a lot of people, but not always in a professional environment. And it doesn't always allow you to have those ideas and share those ideas that you're hoping to share. And so 3 points on how to make an outline. First, it's not a script, only the main points. Second, it's not only what you want to communicate, but how you want to communicate it. And when we're making our outlines, which I hope everyone has paper and pencil nearby, we will be not only talking about what people are wanting to say, but also how they're wanting to present that information. And then, of course, the starting and the ending. The first thing that you say, be it a story of some sort, be it a joke, be it a funny little remark, or an impactful start, those are ways of getting people's attention, and they can draw them into what you're saying. And then, of course, how you end, the final things you say. If you're able to prepare that in advance, that gives you the opportunity to really leave that impact and, wow, that person was so amazing at speaking, for a relatively cheap investment of just a couple seconds to think about how you want to end a certain presentation. And so, like I said, I hope everyone has something nearby to write with, because I will be asking everyone to write, and I will be calling on people to read what they wrote to save my voice, but also because it's fun to have you guys participate. So the first example of a question or a prompt, typing is okay. Yeah, if you want to type, go for it. Is describe Science Olympiad to a stranger. And so this is something I've had to do a lot, because when you say, oh, I did Science Olympiad, people think that you are doing something else, or they think you are a science nerd, which is true, or they think that you are doing some sort of other like weird extracurricular. No one really understands what Science Olympiad is. And so, believe it or not, I actually have this response prepared in my head already, but I wanted to show you like a way of outlining something as simple as this. And so the outline that I use is, I first start off with calling it a track meet. It's a track meet, but for science. And so I try to start that with like an energetic, like, oh, it's so cool to share this with you. Science Olympiad's like a track meet. And then I transition to, oh, it has all these different events. So I usually rattle off a couple different really contrasting events, something like anatomy versus forestry versus sounds of music. Those are all so different in what they're covering. This is supposed to be like, wow, I'm showing you all the broad tools. And so I usually say really fast, like, oh, it covers everything from anatomy to forestry to sounds of music to oceanography to glaciers and stuff like that. And then kind of taking it, bringing it down at the end, you want to end it with like, yeah, these students come in, they take a bunch of tests and build little machines, be it a plane or a car, and they all compete at a competition. You go get medals and you have a great time. You don't have to do that last part. I think it's funny though. But as you can see, very simple outline, very clear way of presenting your ideas, and it allows you to kind of get the point across. And so, but if you combine it all into a little presentation, a little tidbit, you can say, so Science Olympiad, think of it as like a track meet for science nerds. You have a bunch of students, they go in, they study these events that range from like anatomy and physiology to glaciers to sounds of music, where it's like physics, to thermodynamics, and they take tests on these events. Or they build devices, they build planes, they build cars, and they compete at these competitions, and they go up and they get medals. And it's a really cool experience because it has that team competition, but also bringing in the science. Nice and simple. You don't start to ramble, which, believe me, I do so much. Having that outline kind of allows you to hold on to your main points. It's another question, common one. What's your favorite Science Olympiad event? So I'm going to actually commit to one. I'm going to say disease. It's a good event. It's a good event. I don't have any annotations on tone, but like, it's disease detectives. I'll start off a little bit energetic, talk about why you like it. Oh, I like the certain problem solving, working with different issues, but also has connections to the real world. You think about that last bit, maybe the tone is like inspired or hopeful, whatever you want to present that. It just allows you to kind of get that extra little bit in. And so if you wanted to like tie together, it's like my favorite event is like disease detectives. It's kind of like epidemiology, public health. We work with different problems that are presented on a test, especially outbreaks of diseases. We try to be like investigators to find out what the cause of the disease is, how it all comes together. And I really like it because it's not only that problem solving, but it's also that connection to the real world and seeing that impact of science in a real example is really cool for me. So lovely. And so those are the two samples. That's all you get. Now you got to do it yourself. Let's go for our first practice. So what's your favorite animal and why? I do 3 bullet points. You can do more. Some people like that question more than others, it looks like. Let's have everyone do a quick 3 bullet point outline. Obviously, the first bullet point probably going to be the animal, but doesn't have to be. If you want to give some short little story of like why you don't like an animal and transition into it, you could. But yeah, I'll give a couple minutes. Let's have everyone do 3 bullet points, maybe a couple tone indicators, and then I'll start asking people what their outlines look like. Alrighty, it's 3-point outline, so that should be plenty of time. I'm just going to ask people to do very rapid fire. What are your 3 points? Not even, you don't even need to present it. It's so easy. Just read off the 3 points that you wrote down. We'll try to get most people in, but obviously it's for time. We want to make sure we can keep moving as well. So I'm going to start going off quickly. Ferris, go for it. 3 points.
My favorite animal is the Homo sapien, also called the human, because it is the most intelligent and also the most advanced, and it has colonized the most of this earth.
You know what? I'm not gonna argue it. You know what? I'll accept human. I'll accept human. It's not what I had in mind, but it's a good answer. I'll take it. 3 bullet points. Lydia, go for 3.
My favorite animal is definitely a unicorn because they can honestly be anything that you want. They can be good, evil, cute, and smart, and they have magical powers, and they have like a really pretty horn that can honestly do anything. And even though some people don't believe in them, then they certainly live on in my heart as my favorite animal.
Okay, Stanley, go for 3.
My favorite animal is a duck because it has a lot of diverse behaviors and it's very cute and it makes funny sound.
Pragnia, go for 3.
My favorite animal is a cat, a Persian cat, because they're furry and they're unique among all cats, and they're also affectionate, unlike most other cats.
Okay, Ariana, go for 3.
I also said cats because they're less high maintenance than like a lot of other pets, and they're also very cute. And then if you have a cat, it can be like very relaxing, and you can like chill with your cat.
Okay, We're going to get to the rest of you in the second question. Second question is, what is a meal you really enjoy? And we're going to get a little bit less time now. And when you guys present, I'm just going to have you literally just read those 3 bullet points. And we're going to see specifically what your outline looks like. So shorter time this time. Outline, 3 bullet points. What is a meal you really enjoy? All right, 3 bullet points. Just read them off, Gordon. Just go straight off the paper.
Pasta, lots of variety in wait, true. Nope, my document closed. Hold on, sorry. Okay, pasta, lots of variety in different tastes.
Good. Okay, I can see that, and I can see your progression of like how you connect it. I like that. Davina, 3 bullet points. Read them off.
Pasta, because I just like a lot of Italian food and it just tastes good.
Simple, straight to the point. Love it. Josephine, 3 points. Go read them.
Ramen, it's tasty and has different flavors, and there's different types like light or heavy broths for different weathers or moods.
Ooh, weathers or moods. I like that. Ooh, okay. Very nice. Leanna, 3 points. Read them.
My mom's orange chicken because it's really yummy and it's great with a lot of foods like rice.
Okay, perfect. Shreya, 3 points. Read them.
Ice cream, delicious, many different flavors.
Very true. I'm noticing flavors as a trend. Having variety is good for you guys. I like that. It's good. Daniel, 3 points. Go for it.
I chose spaghetti because it has protein, carbohydrates, vegetables, and dairies, and also because it's easier to make.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, I like it. So as you guys can see, like just having the couple seconds it takes for you to mentally jot down 3 ideas. That's all it takes, and yet. For those of you who I can see everyone's like instinctively trying to tie them together and bring them into one cohesive thing. That's fantastic, and that already helps. And so we're going to do a couple more of these. We're going to this time keep the time even shorter for the outline, and instead of just the points, I'm going to have you try and tie together. So let's keep the time shorter. The question is, who is someone you have met recently? Yeah, sure.
Does met mean just like come in contact with?
For the
just
first time.
Meet a new person. Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right, Stanley, let's hear the 3 points of the outline, and then I'm going to ask you to tie it together.
I said the JTMS or OSHA coach for science selling, and my first or second point, I guess, was scrimmage, which is where I met them, and conversation, which is like what we talked about in like our experience.
Nice. So if I asked you to like give me one big cohesive response now, what would that look like?
Someone I've met recently is the JTMS or OSHA coach for Science Olympiad, and I met them at scrimmage where we discussed how the progress of our teams were going.
Nice, right? It's so clean. It's a good answer. It addresses a question, gives me context, and yeah, it's so clean. Very nice. I like it. Ariana, go for it. Actually, no. Start with the outline, then bring it together.
Okay, I said someone I met recently was the school drum major because we sat on the same bench together after school, and then he was very nice and he asked me about school, and then he gave me advice because he's a senior.
Very nice, very nice. And so now you kind of tied it together a little bit, but I want you to give me one big package, keeping in mind the idea of not only like outlining your thoughts, but also bringing it all together, keeping pacing, all that stuff. So bring it all together for me. What's one good response?
So someone I met recently was Edwin, who's our drum major at Troy. We met because he sat on the bench with me when I was doing my homework, and then we had conversation, and he was giving me advice about school because he's a senior, and he was very nice, and he always says hi to me now.
It sounds so good. It's like a little bow on top. Love it. Okay, let's keep going. Gordon, give me your 3 bullet points and then bring it all together.
Okay, Sean, Mr. Avola, Sayoli. So somebody I met recently was Sean. We actually originally were supposed to meet because Mr. Avola told us to meet for Science Olympia thing. And we actually have recently been talking a lot more recently just because we've been talking about Sayoli and just school because he's also a senior now and he's been giving me help with Troy advice.
Very nice. Let's keep going. Leanna, 3 bullet points and then bring it all together.
Someone I met recently was Christina. She's a junior and she's like first chair cello in my orchestra, and she's really nice and good at word hunt.
Got it? All right. Now bring it all together. So you kind of got the outline there. Bring it all together. Put a little bow on top.
So someone I met recently was Christina. She's a junior and she's the first chair cello in my orchestra. So she's our section leader. She's really nice and she always like helps me on like everything that, and I like, she always like answers all of my questions I have about anything, and she's really good at word hunt. So I like playing word hunt with her, and she's going to be my cello section leader for the rest of the year.
Very nice. Perfect. Good stuff. Davina, 3 bullet points and then bring it all together.
Okay, I met this girl in my PE class named Lauren while we were playing volleyball.
Okay, bring it all together.
So someone I've met recently is like this person named Lauren, and she plays volleyball outside of school, and she was playing during PE class and we just started talking. I was failing, so she gave me some advice.
You guys sound so good. I love this. Perfect. Okay. Shreya, let's hear 3 bullet points and then bring it all together.
Snida, friend of Frogs, moved here recently, now sits with us at lunch.
Okay, you got some explaining to do. Let's hear it.
Okay. So someone who I have met recently is Snida. She's a 9th grader and she moved here recently. So this is her first year in like Irvine. I think she moved from another part of the country. My friend Pragnia met her in her humanities class, and now she sits with us at lunch, and I've gotten to know her better.
So if I ask Pragnia for your 3 bullet points and then bring it all together, you can see the same thing?
My bullet points were not about Snida, but
Let's hear it.
oh, okay. So mine were about the tech director at our school named Blake, and I met them through tech theater.
Ooh, okay. I want to hear this.
Okay, so someone I met recently was our tech director, Blake, and I met them through tech theater because I've been involved in tech theater recently. And I delivered keys to them because they were locking up the shed after a call, and they're kind of intimidating, but very organized.
Very nice. Very nice. I like to hear it. Let's transition to another quick question. Remember, 3 bullet points. If you want to make notes about how you want to answer it as well, intonation, love to hear that too. What is something you learned in class today? And nothing is not an answer. And Science Olympiad is not considered a class for the purposes of this discussion. Shreya, go for it. What's the question?
School class or SVLAP?
Can't count this. Can't count this. Nice try, though. Be quick. We're cutting the time even farther now. All right, Ferris, let's hear those 3 points and then bring it all together.
Something I learned in class today was in ELA, where I learned what happened in The Giver chapter 12, because our teacher didn't really teach and we just had independent reading time.
Okay, so curious how you're going to bring this together. Let's hear it.
Something I learned in class today was regarding chapter 12 of The Giver, and I learned what happened to Jonas after he was doing his training for being the receiver of memory.
I love that book, by the way. Great book. Let's go, Lydia. 3 bullet points and bring it all together.
Art and music styles in ancient West Africa, they used basket making, applique, and geometric patterns, as well as a lot of different instruments. And this applies to the real world now.
Okay. So are you gonna try and package that into like one? That's a lot. That's a lot. You're paying attention. That's good. Can you try to bring it all into one little answer? Let's hear it.
Something I learned in class today is a lot of different visual and music styles in ancient Western Africa. They use many different instruments to create music, and also many art forms, including basket making and patterns. And this was brought to many other countries through things like slavery, and they are now used a lot in the real world and continue to live on today.
Oh, I feel like you're reading off of a cue card, which I hope you're not doing, because that would defeat the purpose of this. But that's a compliment to you, because it sounds so great. Let's do one more question, but you're not going to write it down this time. No writing down your outline. It's all in your head. So I am going to ask you for the 3 bullet points you have in your head, but you can't write it down. This question is one, and I've got like an extra half dozen of these or something. So this is great. What is a concept, lesson, or moral that your parents have taught you? You only hear it once. Get the outline down, and I'm gonna start asking. Josephine, what's on your outline?
My parents taught me not to take things from others, but rather to give. Like they would explain that if you give things to people, the people that care for you most would eventually return it back. And like just giving in general is like a good deed to do in life.
Okay, now let's combine it all. So you get the 3 points. Now let's make it all one smooth transition.
One moral that my parents has taught me in life is to give to others, to make others like happier, and to like provide to like my community, and those that also care for me would also give back.
Sounds so good. Good job. Leanna, give me the 3 points and then tie it all together.
Something that my parents have taught me is to never lie, because it's not okay to lie to anyone, and that will always bite you in the back.
Okay, so tell a story. Go for it.
Something that my parents have taught me is that you should never ever lie, because it's not okay to lie to anyone, especially your family, because they should be people that you trust and that they should trust you too. And that lying will always bite you in the back, and it will always have negative consequences for yourself and others.
All right, very nice, very nice. Madeline, you want to give it a shot?
Okay, yeah, so something that my parents have taught me is to not let my relationships with my friends or with other people, or specifically with my peers, influence major decisions in my life. Because ultimately, if you're blinded by like staying with your friends or with your peers, it can blind you from where you're really supposed to be in life.
I like. First of all, I like the moral. That's actually a really good one. I feel like I'm learning things here too. But yeah, very good job. Bring it up, Stanley. Let's hear the 3 main points, and then give us a story.
Something that my parents have taught me is that it's important to think big picture, because when you think big picture, you are able to encompass all of the feelings and all of the views of everyone around you. And that way you have like a complete understanding of the situation, so that you can analyze and be precise and make sure your morals are correct.
I mean, you kind of tied that all together already. So that's pretty solid the way it is. I don't think you need to do any more than that. Gordon, let's see the 3 points and then bring it all together.
So effort, activities, like, and fun. So an important lesson my dad told me was regarding effort and he was telling me that if you find an activity that you like, you might as well put all the effort you can into it because it will increase the fun out of it and also allow you to do better things with it.
Very nice. Sounds good. Davina, 3 points, and then bring them all together.
Like to not be really impulsive and to like think through things before I act. So one moral that my parents taught me is to not be really impulsive and to think through my decisions before I like act on them, and to really like consider what I'm saying before I say something.
Another good set of morals. Like that. And good answer. Pragnya, let's hear the 3 points and then bring them all together.
To treat people with compassion, to step into their shoes, and you never know what's happening in their lives. So one moral that my parents have taught me is to treat people with compassion, because it's important to like step into their shoes because you never know what situation they're in and what other things are happening to them at that moment. So it's important to empathize with them and be understanding.
Dang it, you're stealing my job. Shoot. Okay. That's okay. We'll roll with it. Ariana, you have 3 points, then we'll bring them all together.
My parents always taught me that if we have guests over, you have to, after a meal, you have to tell them that you're leaving, but you have to be polite and tell them that they have like all the time in the world to eat if they so want to. And then that was really important for me as a child because it taught me how to treat guests and why treating guests is so important because you want them to feel welcomed in your home. So every single time someone comes over to my house, I always tell them that like I'm leaving, but you can eat as much as you want.
Again, you tied it together perfectly on the first try, so good job there. I would definitely try and take advantage of that if given the opportunity. So thank you for that. Daniel, let's hear the 3 points, then bring it all together.
Something that my parents taught me was to always thank people if they help you, because finding someone to help you can sometimes be really difficult, and because someone helping you can make a really big difference. Okay, so one lesson that my parents taught me is to always thank people after they help you. This is because if you thank someone, they'll feel appreciated and they'll want to help you more. And because sometimes finding someone who will actually like help you and give you good advice is really difficult. And the help that you can get from someone can really improve whatever you're trying to do.
Very nice, very nice. All right, Lydia, 3 points, then bring it all together.
Something my parents taught me is to always prioritize my work. Sometimes I get off track, and so when I prioritize, then I'm able to finish everything and still have fun in the end. So one of the main things that my parents taught me is that I should always prioritize and organize my work so that I do the most important things first. This way I can make sure that I'm always finishing my work and everything that I have to be done until I can go out and play and have fun.
Lovely. And look, and it's such a clean transition too. It's very nice. Ferris, go for 3 and then bring it all together.
Something that my parents taught me was to not let yourself be affected by others. And the 3 bullet points are: you can easily waste your chances and you should never lose sight of your goal. And the next one is that even though you can be close with your friends, you should focus on your own work first. And so connecting them all together is something my parents taught me, is to never let yourself be affected by others, as this is an easy way to lose one of your only opportunities. And you should always prioritize your own work and never lose track of your goal.
Very nice. Very clean, very smooth. Shreya, I think you're the last one, so go for it.
So kind of similar to Davina's, but something my parents taught me recently actually was to like calm down and think things through when you're like in conversation, especially when you're first meeting someone, because this can help make a good impression and not like make things awkward. I have a really funny story that goes with this. Would you like to hear it?
I want you to bring it all together because I'm actually running a little bit behind time right now, but I do want to hear the story afterwards, though.
Oh, after? Okay. So one lesson my parents taught me recently is when you're meeting someone new to keep calm and think things through with what you say and keep it casual so that you make a good impression and you avoid making the conversation awkward or annoying, and so that hopefully you can like make a nice enough impression to get to know them better, and eventually you can talk like friends do.
Very nice. Very nice. Again, it's a very, very clean, very smooth. So you guys are all already sounding better, which is great. We're gonna keep doing this practice over time. It's always good to get more practice in. For the time being, though, let's do 30 seconds, stand and stretch, and we'll move on to our next point. But keep it short because we got to get moving because we have a lot to talk about in this. Imagine that. When I said short, I meant it. I meant it, dang it. Okay, so I have a secret. This lesson is not supposed to be taught today. It's supposed to be taught multiple weeks down the line because I was counting on there not being any major conflicts needing to be discussed. And yet we have one. Whoa! Josh changed the curriculum at the last minute and spent a bunch of time trying to reorganize everything. You know what? We'll roll with it. We'll go with it. So, conflict analysis. This, the goal of this is to hopefully, depending on how quickly I was able to whip this lesson together, provide a framework for analyzing, resolving, discussing, looking at conflict. It's not just to say, oh, there is a problem. It's to figure out what is the problem, why do we have a problem, what are we going to do about it? And so I hope you're taking notes because I am just so delighted to share this with you. There is an outline you can use to discuss conflict, and that outline is Gary. Gary is your conflict discussion outline. So let's run through very quickly. The G in Gary is generalize, then analyze, and then identify possible solutions. After that, you want to resolve the issue. And the Y in Gary is yes, you resolve the issue, but still keep looking at it and continue to monitor the situation as it develops. Gary, it's a great tool. Let's figure out how to use this more in depth. So generalize. Generalizing a situation aims to address the what, aims to address the facts of the situation, what happened. It simplifies things to its basic elements. Instead of saying, oh, Timmy, I'll say Timmy, we actually have a Timothy in our team. Timmy says this, we say, a student says this. You're taking that, reducing it to its basic elements. It's not a specific person. It's not a specific team or concept. It's as general as possible. Can someone raise their hand on Zoom or unmute and say one reason, what's the main reason, I should say, what's the main reason we want to generalize and not just tackle every issue with everyone's details, all the details present in it? What's one possible reason? Yeah, Josephine.
Privacy.
Very much so. Very much so. And let's actually connect to privacy. Something about privacy and personal identity. What's another point related to that we may want to keep in mind, and why we want to generalize something instead of just jumping straight into it? Yeah, Ariana.
You can have, or people can have certain biases, or you can have certain biases about other people.
Absolutely. 100%. We all have, I mean, it's human nature to have biases about certain people, your own experiences with someone, your own experiences with how they act, what they say to you. And that can hinder the decision-making process when it comes to looking at conflict. And so by generalizing the situation, you're able to step back and not think of it as my bestie or my enemy, but a person is having a problem. Let's look at how to fix it. Another reason you'd want to generalize, this is a more abstract concept, but it allows for cross-discipline study and analysis. Ooh, big words. So proud of that one. But let's be honest. If you have two people in a strand arguing with each other, you will never find any research about Science Olympiad students arguing about Science Olympiad events. There's nothing about that. No one, because it's such a specific niche thing, right? But if you break it down and generalize it to two peers on the same team are arguing about a certain topic or conflict or duties or responsibilities or roles, guess what? There is like a ton of resources out there about how to handle that in the corporate world, in the sports world, in academia, like in education. There's so many examples and things you can pull towards and pull and look to and tie in that'll help you to look at the situation that you're having. Because again, you're not going to find research about a coach and a captain having a conflict or two teammates having conflict in Science Olympiad. But by making it more bare bones, you can find those examples in other places and try to pull them into your situation. So the G in Gary is generalize. Next, analyze. Analyze answers the why. Not just the what happened, but why did it happen? Part of an analysis is starting with the actual issue, like what is wrong? What is the thing that happened? How bad is it, the magnitude? And then if you want to do some stakeholder analysis, who's affected by this issue? That's kind of digging in deeper. So if two teammates are having an argument, to generalize it, two peers are having an argument. Simple as that. And an analysis of that would be, well, why are they having this argument? What's going on in teammate A, teammate B's? What are they thinking? What are they looking through? We can tie that into like maybe they're just feeling emotional. They have motives or special interests they're looking towards. And then in that analysis of the argument, we look at, hey, they're just bickering. They're not stabbing each other with a colored pencil. They're not hunting each other down. It's not a huge thing. It's very small. And it's only them. The team isn't really affected. No one really knows about it, so we're not to worry about that. And so in that analysis stage, you're able to kind of get to all the details of the situation while still trying to answer the why and trying to figure out what's going on. Now, the difficult part with analysis is you don't want to fully speculate. You can do a little bit of speculation, but you don't want to make up a situation that's not there. It's still looking at the facts of the situation, but it's looking at the facts of the situation from a more human perspective, if that makes any sense. And so instead of just looking at the objective, straightforward bullet points of what the situation is, you dig more into the interplay of emotions and people's opinions and biases and their interests and their desires and their strengths and weaknesses and their personality types. Those aren't always explicit when you generalize something, but by analyzing it, you're able to get that and pull that in. Next in our little Gary tool, identify possible solutions. Give every possible solution you know. Don't be afraid to be funny. Please be funny. I love it when people are funny. If you think that a possible way we could resolve two teammates who are arguing is to have them stand in front of the school and everyone will clap for the person they agree with more, that is a possible solution. Is it practical? Probably not, but that's not this stage. This stage is, let's just get every possible idea out there. Give everything you can, especially short-term and long-term solutions. So if someone is very aggressive, like if someone's like yelling and screaming at another person, you don't want to give a 6-month roadmap of how you want to resolve this conflict. When this person has like scissors in their hand and they're like screaming at someone, your first step is get them out of there, get the situation dispersed, and then work towards rehabilitation and bringing them back into the community and things like that. The first thing, end the problem. And so if there is something that needs to be done right now, do it. If there's something that needs to be done in the next week, do it. And then start to think about bigger picture, long-term plans, etc., etc. When you're doing this identification of possible solutions, this is the time. Since you've generalized, you can look to other examples. Like I said, it sounds boring. I promise it's not, probably, mostly. There is research in proper management and leadership techniques. There is a whole science to it. There are classes you can take on it in college about the economic decision making of being a manager and all these different ways of looking at conflict resolution and crazy stuff like that. You don't have to do that. But if you look up, my employee is not showing up to work on time, you will get so many articles about bringing employees to work on time. And then you can transition that, apply some of those things that you pull in to my teammates not showing up to study sessions on time. And suddenly you've got a solution you never came up with before that works out very well. And if an important point in possible solutions, it's the easiest one, and yet we always overlook it. Nothing can be an answer. Doing nothing is a valid answer. If people are having a little bit of argument, they got over it, they're fine. Just, hey, maybe keep an eye on it. Let it be. They figured it out themselves. We don't need to micromanage them. We don't need to sit there and tell them what they can and cannot do. If they're mature enough to resolve a conflict on their own, let it happen. And that is okay. And for those of you I've had conversations about this kind of stuff before, you notice I always try to emphasize that. Hey, what if we just do nothing about it? Just let it happen. Let it sit, and kind of see what happens. And so, always a solution. Keep that in mind. Our next point in Gary is resolve. It's actually bringing in whatever intervention you choose, or if it's doing nothing, the choice to do nothing. But in order to do that, you need to figure out the best one. My go-to is cost-benefit analysis. It's like a pro-con or a T-chart or whatever little tool you want to call it. What are the good things about this? What's good's going to come out of this choice? What bad things going to come out of this choice? And so we have two teammates who are arguing. One thing we can do is put them in front of the school and have people clap for the person they agree with more. Pro, it would be a democracy. Con, it would take a lot of time, a lot of people's time, not very practical. We could talk to both of them together. Okay? Pro, we are resolving the situation. We're getting more details out of them. They're able to express their own ideas and opinions on the situation. Con, they could just start arguing right on the spot and they get settled a fight right then and there. Okay? What if we talk to them separately? Pro, they get privacy. Maybe they'd be more genuine or more honest with what they say. Con, takes more time, right? And so there's every single thing you could possibly do has pros and cons to it. It's a matter of trying to identify all of them that you can and looking to see which one, given the program that you're working for, given the Science Olympia program you're a part of, given the interests of the program, given the interests of your teammates, given the interest of everything in mind, what the best one's going to be. So that's the second point, is go up and down the scale. What's the pros and cons? What's the cost and benefit to the people who you're talking to, the people, the source of the conflict? What's the cost and benefit to you as someone who's intervening? What's the cost and benefit to the team as a whole? People on the team, are other people going to be affected by the intervention? If there's two people who are having an argument and you yell at the whole team, then the pro is that the entire team is less likely to get into an argument. The con is that innocent people are being punished and they may grow resentful. And so suddenly you have a different intervention in mind based on keeping in mind the realities of other stakeholders in your situations. Community, if you want to go bigger, doing this will help our Irvine community become a better place. Sure, go for it. That's what we're looking for. And so now that you've kind of done that decision making, you pick a resolution that you want to go for. How are you going to do it? Who's going to do it? When are you going to do it? What's it going to look like? Things like that. It's now that you have the tools in mind. It's a matter of actually going about and setting into motion. And then the last point, you can see there, intervene, actually do it, do the thing, and which leads us to our last step in Gary, which is yes. Okay, I tried so hard to make it like a sayable phrase, and so I needed the why, and I looked up words that begin with Y, and I could not find any good ones. So yes is the closest thing we're going to get, but now we can say it's Gary. yes, resolution achieved, but keep monitoring anyways. Not everything is going to work out well the first time. And so maybe something's going to change. Maybe you'll need to adapt it. Maybe something's going to happen where you want to like transition things around or try something else instead or emphasize something more or less. That can all happen based on your circumstances. And then for my disease detectives, friends out there, communicate findings. Always a wonderful thing to do at the end of an intervention or a set of research. If you learn something by helping someone else resolve conflict, share it with other people, add to your mental portfolio of things that you've done so you can look back on it with excitement that you made the world a better place if you're in a position to do so. And so don't be afraid to share your ideas with other people, collaborate. Let's make leadership more of a science than it is already, which is always fun. And so I'm going to try something a little bit crazy, but we're going to do some examples. And I'm going to attempt to share over a second device. Give me 1 second. Okay, let me ask, are you seeing both the slides and the white space right now, or are you just seeing one or the other?
Just the slides.
Okay.
It told me to view options and then I could choose one or the other.
But is there any way of seeing both at the same time? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
In that case, I'm going to stop sharing there. And so now everyone can just see the whiteboard. And we're going to do a couple examples of just what this could look like when it comes to applying Gary to a conflict. And so the first situation that we are going to attempt to resolve as a SV Lab class is number 1. Leanna refuses to show up to EXPD practice when Lydia is there. This has been a big deal. And so recently we've been seeing that Leanna just will not show up to the team practices, but it's only when Lydia is at the practice. We're not sure what's going on. We don't have all the details. We're assuming it's some sort of conflict, but we're not quite sure. So could someone unmute? Start with G and Gary. How would we generalize this situation? Leanna refuses to show up to EXPD practice when Lydia is there.
There's something going on that prevents the desire to be together in one shared space.
Who are we talking about?
Leanna, I guess, because Leanna's the one that's not showing up.
Mm-hmm. But generalize it. Who are we talking about now?
Oh, Asile or someone, a person.
Okay. A person. And what power or responsibility or role does that person play, would you say?
Like one person refuses to work with the other.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
If you want to get in the nitty gritty, you could say especially something like analyzing kind of the power dynamics situation. One person who has a prominent role on the team, like a captain, that's someone in a prominent role, is refusing to work with someone else on the team. Okay, very nice. We generalized it. So analysis. Now, the problem is that we don't have very many details. We can speculate a little bit. So let's try to speculate just a little bit. With what do we think is causing Leanna to not show up to EXPD practice when Lydia is there? We don't know what. We can speculate just a little bit. Shreya, can you speculate just a little bit for me?
We know that they're siblings, so that means there's a lot that we don't know, and that there could have been something that went on at home or some. So since they have a sibling dynamic, that could lead too many different types of conflict that could cause a response like this.
All right. All right. That's good. That's good. Yeah, we're not sure what's going on, but we know there's a problem, and so we want to do something about it. Now, when we generalize this, we're just saying two people who are having conflict, but yeah, the fact of the situation is they're siblings. Okay, so maybe we add that to our generalization. It's still anonymous. It's still we're trying to limit bias as much as we can, but the fact they're siblings is important, and so we're unsure about their conflict. What are, in terms of who's right or wrong in this situation? Do we know? We're not sure, right? Okay. Well, one person thinks they're right, but I'm not going to count that. As for the rest of us who are not involved in the situation, we're not sure who's right or wrong. What we notice though that when in the situation, Leander refuses to show up to EXP practice with Lydia there, or one person refuses to work with another, it's not a mutual thing. It seems to be one direction. And so, just besides being a great band, what does that fact that's one direction mean for our situation? Is there some sort of dynamic going on? Is one person being a problem, or is it the person being too sensitive? What's one way we could look at that situation a little bit more? So, can someone unmute? Give me some more analysis. The fact that it's only in one direction. What could that possibly suggest?
That I despise Lydia, and I just don't want to be around her.
Okay. Mean. Why?
It also suggests that something probably personal is happening behind the scenes. And even though the general public might not know, then the two people involved in the conflict definitely do know. And they might not want to resolve it because one person is unwilling to comply.
I like that. I don't like how you kept looking up as you said it, as if there's some sort of motive behind that. But I like that. One person could be causing this issue, unwilling to comply. Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. So, with that said, I think I'm not going to mandate that everyone give an example, but there are just so many ways we could solve this. And so, let's get a couple serious ones, but I will give bonus points to something that can be a really funny one. What are some ways that we can address this? Before we even do that, though, what is the first thing? What is the null hypothesis? What is the first intervention that we can bring into this? I emphasized it earlier. Madeline, is that a hand or is that a hair? I heard it. Davina, say it again.
We can just do nothing.
Not my problem, right? They don't pay me enough to worry about that. Okay, so starting with nothing. What's another way of addressing this issue? Someone refuses to work with someone else. Give me a serious example.
Force them to work together. So
Lovely.
they'll figure it out.
Yeah, maybe just make it happen, and they need to figure it out and work it out, and it's not our problem. And make them take. Okay, sure, force them. Like it. What's another serious example? What's the opposite of forcing them to work together?
Kick Lydia out of meetings.
Okay.
Kick Leanna out of meetings forever.
Remove one person, or what about both? From the program entirely. Let's do that. Okay. Madeline, go for it.
I was gonna say split them up so they're not partners anymore, but
Love it. Love it. Yes. Well, I'll put that under force them because those are opposites. We could just hey, walk away from it. Just split them up, never see them again, and we're good to go, right? That's okay. So we got a few. Give me one more funny one. Not from the parties involved, by the way. You guys are still fighting. Let's get a funny one from someone who's not involved in this conflict. Don't make me pull out a funny one. Okay, I'm already like brainstorming ideas right now. Shri, let's hear it.
It's kind of random and really hard to pull off, but if we somehow separated them to the point where they didn't, since they're siblings, they didn't come in contact with each other for a long time. So hopefully they eventually miss each other, or they like get over it because it's been such a long time. Then we can put them back together. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. Madeline, let's give me another one.
I had two. One I was gonna say is punish them if they ever talk to each other, and then two was make them bribe each other for forgiveness.
Stanley, keep it going.
I was gonna say just like throw them both on an island and like leave them there, and then they'll figure out their problems. You know. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so it sounds funny, but there's actually a reason why we do that. Because guess what? We can pull some ideas out of those funny ideas and actually make them apply to our situation. Force them, split them up, remove one or both from the situation entirely. It's kind of like send them to Norway. I chose Norway because I actually really like Norway. It's a nice place. Punish if they say a word. Okay, well, we're not going to like kick them off the team if they say something, but maybe we just say, hey, don't talk to each other. And that suddenly becomes a serious example. Like just don't talk to each other for a little bit. Figure it out. Grovel for forgiveness. Make them on their hands and knees and beg each other. That would never happen, though it would be so funny if we could pull it off. But maybe making them sit down and actually talk until they figure something out and ask, and hopefully ask for forgiveness. That could be a serious example. We could definitely do something like that. Desert Island. I mean, we could lock him in like K2. That'd be funny. We could do that. Yeah. So put them away until they figure it out. We absolutely can do that. Those are some real examples. And so actually, I'll kind of put a little star by those. Maybe not Desert Island, but you get what I'm saying. And so now we want to actually pick an intervention. We want to pick one that is going to work for us. Let's look at ways we can weigh cost-benefit analysis and that kind of stuff. This one, I'm not going to write out actually as much, but let's just talk about it, right? If we force them to be together, someone give me a pro of forcing them to be together. Gordon, go for it.
It will solve the solution long term.
Ooh, okay. I'm taking you on that. I'm supposed to say, in this, you're supposed to say yes and, like, accept the answer and. No, I'm going to take you on that. What if it doesn't? You know these two, okay? No, sorry, we're supposed to generalize. But let's be honest. What if it doesn't? Okay, so yes, it absolutely, we force them together. They have this mature epiphany. They work together, and then suddenly it's bliss. Or a con, we could say, it could go both ways. A con is they don't figure it out. And we've got two people arguing during the XPD test, which is not fun. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind for forcing them together. Give me another one for that, Stanley.
It forces them to directly confront the problem. There's no avoiding it or running away or like letting one get away with something. I don't know.
Perfect. Okay. Give me a con for forcing them to be together. Pragnya.
The conflict could like escalate further because they could actually like fight, not fight, but like fight.
Escalate. I like it. Okay. Let's move on to splitting them up. What's a pro of splitting them up? Lydia?
They're able to think about it personally and maybe or may not accept peace or war.
Peace. Well, we'll say peace, right? We'll say peace. Well, let's aim for peace here. But yeah, perfect. They have time to reflect personally. That's good. Give me a con about splitting them up. Yeah, Madeline.
It may not resolve the situation wholly because when you split them up, you're only looking at the silent aspect, but since you said they are siblings, there's still that personal aspect at home where they still have to see each other and deal with each other every single day. It's not like there's anyone who's gonna it's not like they were put together on assignment at home. And so there's nothing you can do about it, and you have no way of knowing what's going on when they're not at school or in silent.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's do another con. Let's go. Let's jump scale here. Let's do stakeholder analysis. What's a con not just involving them, but involving other people? Ariana, you have one for that?
You have to rearrange the team, and some people may have to be put, or like, each event may not have the strongest people in there.
Yeah, got to keep the team in mind, right? That's very true. Very true. Okay, so those are a couple quick ones. I'll skip Desert Island, isolating them in a room, although I really want to try that one. Punish, they say a word. So we'll say no contact. Pro, limits contact. I mean, they're less likely to get in a fight, right? Less likely to have problems. Con, I mean, it's kind of sad, at least a little bit. But I'm thinking like team-wise, if you see that two of your teammates just aren't talking to each other, what's that going to do to your morale? It's going down. And so team morale is definitely a possible con for going no contact. Same thing with growling for forgiveness. Like, it could be really cool, or it could be an absolute backfire. Who knows? In terms of actually picking one, now that you've done the analysis, I don't know. Doesn't really matter because we don't need to worry about it. But if you wanted to actually resolve a situation like this, you would take this analysis further and further and further, pick the best one, and then go with it. And then monitoring the situation with our yes, resolution achieved, but still monitoring. What? You want to just look at what's going on. Look at the conflict head on. Like, when they're sitting together, are they arguing with each other? Okay. Is Leanna showing, or is student A showing back up to meetings at when student B is present? Are people talking about the resolution's been achieved, or is that people happy? That could, maybe you want to try something different if something isn't working, something along those lines. Very straightforward, but like I said, I need an extra step, so we're going to have that one. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, but I do have another one we want to roll to. There's an example I will use. No, this did not actually happen. That's a question in the chat. This is not a real situation yet, and so if it does happen, though, we've got a whole thing prepared, and so we'll be so ready. So who knows? I have a second situation that I will save for a homework question, which I think you guys will enjoy. But the third example that we have of conflict happened 5 hours ago, which is why we're teaching this today. Yeah, so for those of you who aren't aware, there was a conflict on the SciOly Discord that broke out between a group of students. I mean, you can go try and read it yourself if you want. Actually, no, I would encourage you to read it for the learning purposes. And after we kind of discuss it a little bit, but I'll do just a very quick rundown of applying Gary to this conflict. And so, generalizing the situation, what happened? One student seemed to have an inflated ego. There seemed to be some sort of like idea that the student was better than other people, which sparked conflict with other peers and individuals in the group who either felt that either they were better or they didn't want someone else to be better. And so we kind of got this conflict of peers with themes of pride, we'll say. There was people who were believing they were better than others. There was issues with students coming in and just giving like not helping situations, just giving little one-liners. So while this was a very centralized peer conflict, it was kind of one-on-one or maybe one-on-two, depending on how you look at it. still a group of people was involved. And so that's something to keep in mind as we go about the situation. In terms of analysis, looking specifically at this conflict and what was everyone kind of working or thinking about, you can read through it, you can see all this stuff, but some things to keep in mind. I'm going to actually circle this and bring it back down as well. Pride/ego is a pain to deal with because people always seem to have the idea that they're better than other people, and that always will lead to conflict, it seems like. And so that was kind of a motive or a spark for this conflict. Perhaps there was brewing emotions, or we're not really sure what was going on behind the scenes. We don't know everything that's going on. And so maybe there's something going on behind the scenes we don't know about. Still, we have the situation that we have to deal with at hand. And so even though we're speculating on what could be happening behind the scenes, we still have the situation going on right in front of us. And so let's do something about it. Interventions. Well, we already did one intervention. Can someone unmute and say an intervention that we actually put into place short term?
Muted the channel.
Yep. Locked down the server. That's a short-term intervention, right? Long-term intervention. What's it going to look like? I mean, we could do a lot of different things. We could put them in K2 together until they either one comes out alive or preferably they talk it out. We could have them address it to the whole team and have them kind of take things away. We could have a coach or captain talk to them specifically. So many ways you can go about that, but we'll just narrow that down to talk to them directly as a possible long term. Pros of locking down the server: it's quick, it's easy, costs us very little, and it stops the problem. It breaks up the crisis in the moment. What is a con of locking down the server? Can someone unmute and tell me?
Prevents communication between people who actually need it.
Yep. Suddenly we're losing our main stream of communication for the whole team. That's very important. If I say the word prohibition, what does that bring up in your mind? Prohibition in relation to this. Someone unmute and tell me.
You tell them they're not allowed to do it, or like
Not what I had.
correction.
Not what I had in mind, but that's certainly true. When the government banned the sale of alcohol in our country, did that ban alcohol?
It might inflame the issue and catalyze further disagreements between other students.
Sure. And why is that? Why would that happen? Because
They're
these.
children.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But also the place that we have designated for those kinds of conversations, a place that is monitored by captains and coaches very frequently, where we can intervene if something is going wrong. Suddenly we take away that place. And so who's to say that those conversations aren't happening right now on text or on Slack or on a WeChat, whatever alternative you have out there. Those conversations could very well still be happening right now. Those arguments and people are getting mad at each other and gossiping. And by shutting down the server, we don't know about that. That's dangerous, right? That's dangerous for short term and long term. And so that's maybe something we want to do short term, lock down the server, end the crisis immediately, but then eventually open it back up and continue to provide that place for people to talk, because that allows the program to keep track of things, allows us to keep an eye on our students and things like that. And so I'm not going to do the pro-con analysis of these specific interventions because we're already kind of doing them already. Like that's kind of what we're doing. We're going to have people talk to them about it. We already have had people talk to them about it, and we're going to continue to have that. And so the idea of trying to pick up an intervention, not necessarily in this case because we've done it. In terms of monitoring situation, again, just look at them. See what's happening, see what's going on in the conflict. If there's something we can do about it and we need to change our plan, maybe we change our plan. But that's something to keep in mind. We can always just look at the situation, maybe hear what people are saying or doing or thinking about other things. And that allows us to kind of look at it a little bit further. But ultimately, I know we rushed through it, but as you can see, Gary is a way of working with situations that may arise that can have personal bias in it. It allows you to look at those things unbiased and maybe kind of gets you towards resolution. So we are ending late. I apologize for going over time. I will be posting the homework later on Google Classroom. I won't be doing it right now or tonight. It'll be a couple days from now. I would love it if our coaches and, well, actually, no, everyone's welcome to stay. I hope you do, because we can talk more about this, because I know it's your bedtime. It's my bedtime too. But I'd love for everyone to stay if you want to talk about it more. If you don't want to stay, don't need to. I'd love to see our coaches, and also Gordon and Leanna, if possible. If you could stick around just a little bit. Other than that, great seeing you guys. Next week, we will not be doing a full class because we'll be preparing for UTA, but there will be office hours available. I'll talk about what that is over Discord. It's just a time for you to come out, hang out, talk a little bit about whatever's on your mind, and get you in the right mindset for UTA. And so thank you guys for coming today. It was really good seeing you. Had a lot of fun. Hopefully you can bring Gary into your own life and keep concise as well while you're at it. So good seeing you. If those of you can stick around, that'd be great. Other than that, we'll see you later.
Where did this happen? Like what place on there's like